Welcome to Reference Roulette, where I share how to make an original song inspired by 3 existing ones. The initial thought after listening to the 3 tracks was to create a beat, something that had the stomp, clap feel of the Arctic Monkeys song, also the tempo from that same track, but I wanted to incorporate some floor toms and some rhythmic pauses that reference back to the Imagine Dragons song. I went through my different sound libraries and found samples that I wanted to use for the beat. I used a very compressed thumping kick drum. I used a amalgam of different 808 claps, all compressed into one file. I also used some other elements like a hi-hat, some floor toms, and a rim shot to incorporate all the elements I wanted for the beat. I added a double snare hit in the emptier space in the beat. And then I took another snare sample, this time with a longer tail, reversed it, and used it as a riser into the 2 snare hits. I used the main riff from the Jimmy Eat World song as the bass line. Since it's so slowed down, it became sort of a very sexy, rhythmic, groovy part. Pay attention to Believer, there's these really clean guitars going through the whole song, just finger picking lightly on both sides of the track, so I emulated that. Keeping in line with the whole idea of slowing down the Jimmy Eat World song, the beginning of the song starts with these really rapid fire snares, slowed down to this tempo. I use that as a platform to go into the chorus. I also decided to keep the floor toms going, this time with a different pattern. One of the more unique elements of the Do I Wanna Know song is this very deep, cutting, fuzzy tremolo part. I spent some time using my ZVEX Sonar tremolo pedal and different gain stages to try to emulate that. While trying to just add some simple kick drums to that part, a happy accident happened where in my duplicating of the kick pattern, I hit play and I liked how it sounded, so I added onto it, and then it gave this element of electronica, very rushed, very double bass sound. second verse from the Jimmy Eat World song, there's a guitar line that kind of turns into or blends into a synth line that pans back and forth from one speaker to another. So I wanted to include some of that element. I used a plugin called Pancake to automate the panning left and right of the synth sound. In the transition between the verse and the chorus of Believer, there's a big gap in sound where there's nothing but silence, but in the background you can hear these really big distorted bass sounds, so I included that to the chorus line. Was a little too short and it was sounding too dark, so I wanted to include a second half of the chorus that lightened up, and the first thing I thought of was using some other drums, like real sounding drum samples. I wanted the rhythmic pattern to stay, so I wanted something consistent, but this time I used the kick drum. I wrote out the kick drum to keep the tempo. Then I went back to the bass and just added some more heaviness on top of the first part, and then lightened it up for the second airier part. Lines to the chorus and use them as a transition back into the second verse. Probably the most frustrating part of writing for this track was trying to emulate the triplet sound of the vocal line in Believer. For some reason I could not get it to transfer over the feel that I wanted on the slower tempoed song. So I eventually gave up and still used a 3-part drum sound to go into a bridge, but I only used, it was not the triplet sound that I was looking for. I spent most of the rest of the day just editing, mixing, EQing different parts, especially the tremolo part was very harsh sounding at first, and I had to EQ some of that off. Some of the low bass sounds needed some automation because the rest of the track stops and it was very harsh sounding, just the really low bass line right there. As far as writing lyrics, I once again went through the 3 lyrics of each song and picked out phrases or words that jumped out at me or appealed to me. For no apparent reason. I'm not looking specifically for a through line between these words. I just want something that pops out at me and I can use later on when trying to write. In case I get stuck, I can pick from or use those as bouncing off points to keep writing. I took most of the inspiration for the way the lyrics are written from Do I Want to Know, where the protagonist is talking to a you person that's not really there. It might be on the phone or just a proverbial you person that he's singing about. In this case, I wanted the protagonist and the other person to be in the same place. So I imagined them meeting in a public space, and they probably had some sort of fling in the past, and they know they shouldn't do something they're going to regret later, but they want to do it anyway. So it's mostly the protagonist trying to convince the other person, the you in this case, to go ahead and commit to doing what they think they want to do, but they probably know that they shouldn't do. The next morning I sang through a couple times, and I realized that the choruses needed something extra, so I also included these background vocals that are very low and like haunting in the first half of the chorus, and then airy and lighter in the second half of the chorus to really emphasize that switch between the heavier, more electronic part in the first part of the chorus and the airier, drummier sound of the second part of the chorus. If you like this video, please hit subscribe. And without further ado, here's episode 2. The song is called Last Call.
Is it foolish? And don't you agree just one more time? Know what we're doing? Come on, let's get lost in the crowd. It's not an imagining. It's not like we're gonna sail away. There's broken promises. We can finally give them a rest. Let's clean our conscience. Let's call, baby, let's get a ride. Let's clean our conscience. Let's call, baby, let's get a ride. It's no secret, you know how to get inside my head. Given to this weakness, tomorrow we can deal with the rest. Let's not interrupt this dream. Let's call it luck, let's call it grace. Let's call the slate wiped clean like ashes